through the labs, and I was running through the labs, and I was trying to push the README file to the, but my repository it was that your Moflix that there was a disconnect, so I had to reconnect my own repo, GitHub, and create a repository and connect it to my what they call it.
To your local repo.
To my local. After that, although my own, because of the way I set my own up, I had to recreate more directories, subdirectory for, is it folders or subdirectories under themselves, so that I can start afresh. And I started afresh. I made created a README file, connected it to my I don't know how to say all these things, but I was following your steps, Sha. I was watching your video, I was following your steps. And I was, I was producing it, and I created my master and my main, created README file under main, created my own user using the same type of link, user, moyo, feature, created
Again, I understand where the whole confusion or that is where your organization skill comes in. Yeah, I was talking about properly organizing your directories, and then the notion of if you have a nested kind of directory, is the directory that you initiated your Git in, where you have where you do your Git in it. Is that particular directory that is going to be like your local repository now.
Okay.
That's the one that will contain your local directory, your staging area, and your local repo. But I'll do a quick dive on creating the remote repo and then the local repo, and then pushing the remote repo in one go. Because I think I realized also that after creating the local repo on Monday, and then I think I switched to just cloning from the remote repo, which might be a bit confusing. I should have, after creating the local repo, created a remote repo and then connect two of them, then pull and push, or rather push to remote repo. Using that, my Netflix clone probably would have given some kind of confusion. And I forgot to mention that there's security around pushing to someone else's.
Yes. That's how I realized that.
You're not authenticated if you don't have the right permissions. You'll not be able to push. I have to give you explicit rights to be able to push to my repository. Again, welcome to class, everyone. We will
I'm sorry, but I think the confusion, like you said, the confusion is maybe a lot of us, when we watch this video now, is for us to determine a part of how to streamline it, you understand? If, from creating your local repo, then creating your remote repo, linking them before even maybe creating the local files to add, then commit, then, so I can understand how
we'll start from the remote repo then, because once you create your remote repo, they give you get instruction on how to connect to your local repo, and even to creating the README file in your local repo.
Okay.
So yes, I will take it from A to A, B, C like that. So I will not go from A to Z, yeah, and then back to B. That can actually cause some confusion.
Yeah. So I beg mind me that I'm slowing you down. You are the professional.
You are not the only one that has the issue. I think Louis also said I would have to watch the video again over the weekend, and it was going to disturb me. That's I know my weekend is
Yes.
so it's better we take the pain to cover all of this now.
Yeah, please. Thank you, please. So that all of us will be carried along, yeah?
Good evening, Master Ezekiel.
Welcome. Yeah, Moya, I will also disturb you over the weekend.
So you guys also, I'm sure with this brief summary we're going to have now, most of the blockers or questions you have it will be met.
Okay.
I know Obina does not have any issue at all. Obina is
the chairman on this
just the authentication, the security issue around them.
Okay.
Yeah, because we are not because we are supposed to be like you're supposed to invite us and add us.
Yes.
Okay,
yes. We'll touch. I'll touch on that briefly. So you can have if you are going to, you can add people to your repo. Is in settings here. GitHub is a whole community. So you can add collaborators to a particular repository. Add users to it. If you have an organization-wide account, you add users to it. But for public repositories like that, is adding people, collaborators, so that they can push and pull, have access to that repository without adding people to it. Even though it's a public one, but still has a kind of access requirements. You can pull, you can clone it or fork it, but to push to it, you need access, basically. So it's just, GitHub trying to protect your code from being modified by just anybody. If everybody has access to push to your repository, then it defeats the whole purpose of collaboration and then working in a team. So the practice of version control is very, very important, particularly in DevOps. Is one of the key principles after continuous integration and continuous delivery. And tracking of code, working with code is basically why we are here. And we cannot do without code, whether it's configuration or documents. Like I mentioned last week, you would need to be writing some documentation, or in the case of pipelines now, when we get into pipelines, we talk of configuration, YAML configuration files, workflows. And then you need to be able to track different versions of your workflow, because you'll be editing it from time to time. From the start, I'll be creating a new repository on GitHub first. We could do this on Azure DevOps also, but I believe the understanding of GitHub we'll do it on GitHub first and then on Azure DevOps. We'll touch each of them, create new ones, then connect it to our local repository, because most times you don't even want to create. You can actually create your repository remotely and then work on it, but it can get very, very complex kind of, and it's not best practice. It's better you work locally before pushing to the remote repository. So then navigating whatever tool you are using, whatever internet-based tool or DevOps tool you are using, you would need to familiarize yourself with the interface because they can get really complex. So over time, once you use something over and over again, you will get used to it. So I'm creating a new repository now. Just going to call this summary.
And share your screen.
I am not sharing my screen.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, since the morning I've been going back and forth. Oh my God. Thank you. Hey, that's all right. It is really catching you. I'm sorry about that. I have been talking about remote and local repos since I didn't know that I was going to share my screen. Can you guys see my screen now?
Yes.
Yes.
So yes. That's serious. So we'll be starting from Git. Like I said, you can do the same thing with, I know this class is about Azure DevOps, but most times you will be working with GitHub because it's more widely acceptable, even if your company still uses repo. Even Azure repo themselves, you at times when you need to create a new repository, you can actually import from Git because you know that you will be working mostly with GitHub as your remote repository. So we will start from here and then we'll go to Azure repos doing the same thing. Yeah, we'll try to move very, very fast. So creating a new repo remotely so that we can connect it to our local and then start pulling and pushing from it. I'm just going to call this summary Git. Make it public. I'm not going to initialize it with, it's usually better not to initialize it with a README file or a .ignore file. Now, creating a remote repository is pretty straightforward. It's just the name that is the important thing that you need. And then you need to be sure on the owner. I'm part of several organizations, and so I don't want to create a repository in any of these other organizations, else I might not have full ownership of it, but I want to be the owner of that repository, so you should. But for you guys that just created your account, you probably have, probably the owner and the alpha and omega there. I'm going to create that repository. And once you create the repository, automatically Git will give you instructions on how to connect your local repo, because obviously they expect that you work from your local repository. Though you can't, working from this interface is not the best. At times you might not even have internet to connect to it. I'm talking from my African standpoint now. I was talking with Jean earlier and he said he's been having internet connection issues. I was going to say, you people have internet connectivity issues in America, but I now pointed out that he was on holiday in Cameroon. So he said it's Africa that has issues with the internet. So this first part, we have two different parts here. The first one says, if you're going to connect to your local repository, that's where you need this first part here. And that's if you've not actually created anything in your local repository. But if you have created something, maybe you've initialized your local repository and then you've created the file, or you have directories inside, you've been coding in your local repository already. As a DevOps engineer, well, different companies practice DevOps differently, but I think mostly is the DevOps engineers that would I say manage the version control for an organization. So when a new project is about to be, embarked on, you create a repository and then you add developers to it. And so automatically, for them to pull to start pushing to that directory, they would have created, worked on their code base, locally. And so for them to connect it to the remote repository, this step will probably, they will need to add, go through this step. They don't, they would have, they already have a code base there. So all they need to do is add a remote repository and then create their own branch before now pushing. They would never have to push to the main branch. Or yes, they will have to. The notion of branching is also very, very key in version control. Every team member must have his own field branch, and then now merge. And before merging, usually when you create a repository, you want to add some protection to it. There's a lot you can do in settings here, but I don't want to divert too much. Just want us to go on a straight line first. So I'm going to go and create my local repository now using my command line, my terminal rather. So I'm going to walk through creating those directories one after the other. Right now I'm in my home directory. I'm going to switch to my desktop. I think I like to. And then I'm going to make a directory and just call it summary. And then I'm going to go into the summary directory. So if I want to initialize summary as my local directory, this is where I do it. But if I know I'm going to have multiple projects in this particular directory, I can go a step further and make another directory in here and call it tests summary. Then go into that test summary directory and make this my local directory for this particular summary, maybe module now. Get in it. So and then I think I mentioned that after doing your Git in it, a file gets created in here, an hidden file, a .git hidden file, which basically controls everything. Your setup and everything is inside that particular directory. That's the .git init directory, and then you don't want to edit or touch that file at all, because well, touching it means disrupting how Git functions. But well, if you are a professional like Obina, can decide you want to tweak or touch Git. So I've initialized my test summary directory as my local repository now. If I go back one step into the summary directory that I created originally, and then I do an LSLA, I don't have a .git hidden directory in there because I didn't initialize this as the summary. This is just like a container for all of my other local repository that I'm going to have. You can have as many local repositories as you have, just like you can have several repositories in one GitHub account. In your local machine, you can have as many repositories also as you want to have. Just pointing that out again, so that that's organization thing, yeah, can understand it. Okay, so after initializing, is to confirm that I'm in the right directory, test summary, and then I have my .git in here, in the right place. So now, so I can now connect it to my remote repository. I can just go one step out at a time, or I can just copy everything once and paste it if you are lazy like myself. It's just that I would need to I did this beforehand. I should have, gone follow their step, but because I know I'll still do it. I went ahead and initialized that first. I can now go with this first. I hope everybody understands what this particular command is doing. Instead of creating the README file first before now
Put in the summary information,
and just append the summary Git into that. So it's saying append this text into this file, create the file, and then append this text to it. So if I do an ls now, I should have the README file. I can cut it. See that I have summary Git in that. So by doing Git status, you'll be using that a lot to check the files that have been created and those that have not been created. I'm going to go a step further by doing a touch.git in ignore. This will probably not show up with just an ls because it's obviously hidden. But you can also track it with your Git status. It will show there that yes, you have an extra file to Git. And so from this instruction here, last week I think I didn't actually add files one after the other. I used the wildcard. That's git add then dots. But you can add your files one after the other in case if you have edited a bunch of files, but you don't want to push all of them at once. You want to maybe push one or two of them. You can do a git add readme. If I do a git status now, you see that this has been added to the staging area of your local repo. While this is still on track, it's still in the working directory. I can add that also. Git add dot git ignore. So both of them are already in the staging area. Now I want to move them to commit them. Let's be using the right terminology. Yes, in IT, the use of the right terminology is very, very key. If we are talking and then you're not using the right terminology, I know this person is a novice. But when you use whatever it is that you're talking about, version control, you're using the right terminologies, committing your file, adding your file, pushing and pulling and cloning. You need to, familiarize yourself with all of this terminology. You're talking about CI/CD, you talk about pipelines, you talk about releases, you talk about artifacts, and let's stay on track here. Talk about version control. Now we want to push to our commit to our local repository. We have git commit. I think there's something else we need to add to this commit command. Louis, what's the flag that we use in adding our message?
-m.
-m. We call it
-m.
flag M.
Flag M.
The M flag. Okay. So I think Git all is telling us that we use first commit as our message. So this is our first commit. and two files changed, one insertion. And that insertion is just a README file, even though it's saying there are two files changed, but it knows that this one is like there was nothing in this. It's just this that we created. We put a file in it. Git is that intuitive, to know the file that has content in it and the ones that you just created, but you did not actually put any thing inside of it. Then if you do a Git branch, so I don't know, for some reason, the local repository, they still use master as the default branch, but GitHub has, I think after the Black Lives Matter, then they switch from using master as their main branch to main. So we're going to create a new branch, and the main branch.
What did you say about Black Lives Matters? Yes.
I think after that incident, GitHub as the company decided they don't want to use master as the main branch again. I don't know what that has to do with blacks.
Okay.
Decided to just switch to using main, kind of. Yeah, like I don't know what's the right word to use with the blacks anyway. So we're going to, for us to be able to push to that remote repository who has main as its main branch. Now we need to create a main branch also in our local repository and switch to it. So that is what this line does. Git branch alone would create the branch, but the flag capital M waits and then switch it automatically to the new branch. There are other flags with most of these Git commands, they have different flags attached to them. I think there's a Git cheat sheet which has plenty of those flags explained. So you can, for my own editor, I have this, I've customized it that it shows the branch in which you're on, so you can see that I'm on the master branch. And when I run this particular command now, you see that it's changed to the main branch. You can also do a Git branch to see the branches that you have. It automatically just changes that master to main, because they are both like a default branch now. So this is like the main command. This is adding the link between your local and your local repo. This is the Git add or add remote now that connects them together. And then the origin and the URL of that's your the remote repository. Currently, there's nothing in this remote repo as it is, because we just created it. So if you go back to your code now, still this is just what is there. It's not detecting that it has anything. But the moment you connect and then you push, so it's from your local repo. Yeah, plenty of things going on in here. I'm just telling you just a summary of what you just did. If I come back here now and I click on code, I see that, the two files that I just created in my local repository as updated here. If I have whatever editing that I do in here now, if I go ahead to touch on my README file. Git starters. I see that this has changed. I can add it. Okay. Just Git push would actually work, but I think I always like to always add where I'm pushing. So if I created it, okay, yes, I said every developer now, or every team member should have his own branch. So I don't usually you should not push directly to your main branch. It's not allowed, but I'm the alpha and the omega of this branch, so it will work fine. After creating the directory as a DevOps, you will definitely you add they call it protection now around that branch, so that nobody can just push into it. Any team member cannot just push directly into it. You have to always go through using pull request and then merging into all of those things. Well, for the sake of this, we'll just push directly so that you guys can practice before you start going into protecting and all of those. It's not complicated. So this has worked. If I come back to my code here, automatically you can see from here that 1 minute ago there was a push to it, and this was the push, the commit message which I added, and you can see that I have that change automatically in here. You can see the power of version control for every change to this repository is versioned here, and you can also see that even on your local repository also using Git logs, Git log rather. Then you see your hash, and then you can drill down deeper into this. So basically, this is the Git workflow from your local repo to from your working directory to your staging area to your local repository, and then down to your remote repository. I hope this is a bit clearer now.
Yeah.
Okay. And also the same thing is basically the same thing if you're going to work with Azure repos also. You create your repository, you add it. You can decide not to create it with a Git ignore. So with a readme file. But yeah, I'm just going to skip all that steps since we already know what to do in doing that. We just create that new repository. This has been created here. I'll use the clone option now to just going to copy it. Go back one step, because you can't create a repository inside a repository. It will work, but it's the organization, that tree-like organization of your directories will not, the purpose of it will be defeated. So it's usually not even advisable because it's going to confuse Git itself. So I'm going to Git clone. I will click. Okay, so this already have to authenticate or create that. That's one step that I missed. So you see, when I have the Azure summary, which I just created now, so I can now go into that particular one, because it was just the README file that I created in there. This was created also. I can edit this one, but edit the README file automatically. You don't have to do the git add remotes for the Azure repos one, because yeah, that's when I clicked on generate password, automatically that's took care of adding it to your local. When I tried at first, I noticed that I was not able to clone it because it didn't have, not given permission to actually allow anybody clone or connect to that particular this Azure repos repository. So I can edit the README file now. This has plenty of things inside of it. So come back here. I see that I have that commit here already. I don't know why the content, yes, content is there now. So basically, again, that is the workflow, whether you're doing it from Azure repos or you're doing it from GitHub. Once your local and your remote repositories are connected, you've added your remotes to your local repository. All you do now is git add, git commit, and git push, and git step or the other git status to check for files that has been worked on and then has been added to whether your working area, your staging area, or your local repository.
All right, Moyo, let me see that the Azure part again. After you collected no, I just want to see your command line.
Okay.
After you collected the repository link,
I cloned it. I cloned the
cloned it. Okay. Then it to prompt you if you have not signed in, to prompt you to sign in with your
credentials.
Credential.
You have to authenticate somehow.
Okay. Then after that, those are the files, the test summary and the Azure summary. Okay, you see it into the Azure summary, get the read.
These are not files, so these are local repositories
From the Azure DevOps bar.
I was in the test summary, which I created originally, and I used to demonstrate the GitHub one.
Oh, okay.
So I had to go back one step. Yeah, I created a container that would house all of my local repository. I told you can have more than as many local repositories as you want to have on your local machine.
Yes.
So the summary is just like the container, the directory that is going to house, just to have a proper organization. I can have the local repositories scattered abroad anywhere on my local machine, but I want to have everything inside just one container, just like I have whether in Azure repos or in my GitHub now, where I can have, when I go back to my account here, I have 32 repositories here now. So this is just like my summary directory now. Then inside that, I have different directories, different local repositories rather. So after demonstrating that in the summary, I now have to go back one step into the summary directory. When I pulled, automatically when you clone a
remote repo,
it will create the name of that remote repo. Well, it will automatically create a local copy of that repository and then name it, just like a local repository also. But you need to go into that repository now. So I went into it with my CD. So I've done a CLS minus LD. So you see that he also has his own .git. To tell you that yes, it is a local repository. And then I edited it, did a status to see that yes, it's tracking.
Okay. So that readme.md file that's inside your Azure summary is when you were configuring it on your
when I created that repository here, he bootstrapped the readme file.
Okay. I think I missed that step. Okay. Because I got into it and my own was empty. I see what's going on.
Yes, okay. When you are creating it, there's an option to create or not to create the readme file.
Okay.
There's an option to even create .ignore git ignore file also.
Okay.
Your repos also. Louis, I hope this brief summary makes more sense now, yeah?
Yes.
It's proper. I think it's good that this basic ones, once you understand it, you can do whatever from your pipelines, because we'll be working mostly with codes, but with managing code. Very, very easy. Fundamental DevOps practice. It helps development team work together to divide code tasks in between teams, storing all the code for easy recovery. Okay. Again, it's necessary. It's a necessary. The understanding of version control is is necessary in other practices. When we start talking about continuous integration and then infrastructure as code, even though we'll not get into that in Azure here, but yes, you will the proper understanding of this. In fact, most interviews that I've gone for as a DevOps engineer, you get more questions on the use of version control, GitHub in particular. You go deep into it, even more than other DevOps things, because it's very, very crucial. Sort of. Yes, it is crucial. And you can see, I think on Monday, when we created a branch, the graph here was different. Don't know if you know that. But this now is just one straight line because we didn't, branch out of this before merging back into it. We created this and then we pushed directly into it. So Azure repo gives you this beautiful, you can have complex branching, and then you get like the graphics will make you understand where that comes from, which GitHub does not have. So yeah, each tool has its own addition that would make you understand what you're working with more. So does anybody else have anything they need clarity on version control before we move to Azure pipelines? We're all good.
Yeah, because I just came in now, so but I'm
Oh,
gonna
Jeremiah, sorry.
yeah.
Okay. Did you watch last class and did you practice it?
Yeah, I practiced the last one.
And do you have any blocker? Were you able to go from end to end, create your local repository, and then create your remote and connect it?
So I'm at the cloning part. That is where I stopped. So I was hoping I'm gonna get back home early today, but I got home late.
Okay.
I'm
So
gonna go through.
we realized that we jumped some steps. We went from A to Z. We left out B, C, D, and the left likes on Monday. So that's why we did a brief summary of, of the proper way going from A, B, C, creating remotes and then creating your local and adding it together. But if you, when you watch this first 15 minutes of this class, is a summary of how it should be properly, and then we also demonstrated the cloning and all of that. Sure, you watch that, you would, whatever blocker you have, you would actually understand better.
Okay.
So Azure pipelines is what we're getting into. We touched on boards last week, then repos also this week. We've covered 2 of the 5 Azure DevOps services. There's a reason they put pipelines in between all of this. I think because it's like the heart of Azure DevOps. Pipelines is actually at the heart of DevOps as a principle, as a methodology, or whatever it is that DevOps means or represents. Mostly you will be is to make automation and then deploying of your code to whatever environment, be it development, staging, sandbox, production, to make it automated. I think in the past, after developers had worked on their code and then they've built it, they hand over the artifacts to the operations team. And then the operations team take that artifact and then I don't want to use provision infrastructure. They build infrastructure now that would house that artifact and then that application as a whole. But the practice of CI/CD, of creating pipelines, just as reduced. And when after packaging their code base and giving the artifacts to the operations team, they deploy and then they start, well, whether they deploy to a staging or a sandbox environment where the QA guys have to test. They go back and then start giving plenty let's say feedback now on things that are not working right. And then before the developers go back to fix whatever it is that the QA guys caught, there's always plenty time lapse in between development team and then the operations teams. So it wasn't a smooth thing. So that is where I think Agile first, the Agile methodology, software development methodology, first was able to shorten that release cycle. So teams that practice Agile, they are able to provide continual change and improvement to customers in a way. They didn't do CI/CD or create pipelines, but they just added like a framework, a traditional framework, a bit. They went beyond that traditional way of delivering, where the waterfall model, where the developers have to first package and all of those before handing over to the operations team for testing and all of those. The art of DevOps, of developing software now is pipelines, CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous delivery. So those are the terms that we will be talking on. We have to first understand what CI/CD means. That is continuous integration. It is a DevOps practice. It's the heart of DevOps practice. I was explaining why, is the middleman in the suite of DevOps, Azure DevOps here. Each of them, they are equally important. It's not like, in fact, testing is so important that you do it at every stage of development. While they are writing code, developers have to also write test cases in their code, even though most of them don't like to do it because they say, why would I be writing code and then I still have to write test scripts that will test my code? Is it that the hours I spent in thinking of the logic, does it not make sense? And I still have to write tests. But testing is also, all of these are very, very important DevOps practice. Your artifacts, getting your artifacts and storing them right. All practices that you can't do without. If you say you want to take out one, then I don't know if you are doing DevOps again. Working with boards, even though when we're doing it, it seemed very, very boring, but you like I said, you'll be working with other stakeholders, you'll be working with product managers, which this is where they thrive. You'll be working with developers and QA guys. So all of this, they are the whole practice, the whole culture around DevOps. So again, Azure Pipelines is basically the cloud-based solution of automatically building and releasing. Okay, I don't want to use release because Azure DevOps, they separated building and releasing. So, but automatically they're pushing your code now to different environments. That's the heart of automatically. It's the heart of Azure Pipelines. It supports all languages and project types. Where you will see that in a bit, that you can actually use it you can build pipelines for different languages, different frameworks. That's the beauty of all of this managed tools. Kind of, if I was working with maybe, how do I put it now? Locally, I was doing things manually. I would have to write scripts, depending on the language which the project, the developers are working with. But with this Azure DevOps pipeline now, it will detect the language from your code automatically, and it gives you like a base, different templates that you can work with. The pipeline combines continuous integration and continuous delivery. I've been hammering CI/CD because you must understand what continuous integration and continuous delivery is for you to actually be able to understand pipeline as a whole. So I'll be talking extensively on continuous integration and continuous delivery, and then the difference between them and how they meet and how they jump in Azure DevOps. CI/CD, we use it to test, build, and deliver code to any destination. It offers very efficient way to automate your builds and then make them available to to your end users. Again, it's a very, very key service, making up Azure DevOps. So I'll start with continuous integration. What is continuous integration? If you ask me, does anybody have an idea or has anybody heard of what continuous integration means? We have actually done continuous integration. In fact, that's what we just did now. It's like a mini continuous integration. But has anybody heard or have an understanding of continuous integration? Faint understanding. I don't mind. Hi, anybody home?
Yeah,
Nobody.
we're all home.
Obina.
Yeah.
Where?
Of course, in software development, especially in agile, this thing, continuous integration is always used, just like the writing code, merging it continuously as developers are improving the code, especially when the customer requests for some changes, then you fix the changes, you merge you push it to the repository, merge it and everything. It's continuously. Just the idea is that the software will be continuously working process, continuously improving it. That is the idea that is the idea of that continuous integration.
Yes.
And if new feature if developer requests for, the customer requests for new feature, then the developers will add it to the software. That's where I understand us.
You never cease to amaze me. Each time you just talk, I'll be wondering, is Obina not supposed to be the one taking this class? I can just sit back and be learning, because you have done justice to it. Well, again, continuous is a practice used by development teams. It's continuous integration now to automate and merge and test code. It helps in you have several developers working on your code base on one repository now, and then you want I'm so tempted to show you one of a code base that has different folders, and each folder would have different files with tens of there's a particular one that has like almost 10,000 lines of code, one file. This is recorded. I cannot do this. So your code base gets really, really large and complex. That's just one person writing all of those. Yeah, there are some crazy ass developers out there, especially those Indians. I don't have anything against Indians, not to sound racist or anything, but they can code. So software gets very, very complex, especially the backend parts, front end also. And so you have people working on different parts, but the end goal is you want to bring everything together. You want to merge all of those code from different developers and from different features now into one single repository. So this is where CI comes in. When they all push and bring their code together, CI makes it very, very easy to merge everything. And then if there's a bug in any of in your code base, CI is where tests also is being done. It catches bug easily, which makes it imagine after if there was no CI now, and then the codes, you still have different people working, and then they've deployed or they've built and then packaged in the artifacts before discovering that there's a bug in it. It gets very, very expensive when that kind of thing happens. The time and manpower that has been spent in that. So automated test, execute as part of the CI process. It ensures the quality, code quality. Not everybody does it or do it. But if you add testing, it will save you plenty headache on the long run. CI systems, they produce, the end goal of CI is to produce artifacts. After merging code and building it, you get artifacts gets created. I think I have a picture here of solutions I can only get. Got a picture here. Okay. I'll get you later. So continuous integration basically involves building and testing your code and then creating an artifact. That's like the end goal of continuous integration, is merging codes from different developers and then delivering an artifact to the release, to the continuous delivery part, which we'll talk about also in a bit. Those two, they are like a pair. You can't, if you talk about just continuous integration, you get your artifacts or you merge your code, you build it, and then you hold on to it. It's basically useless if nobody is using it. So CI without CD is incomplete. Faith without works is dead. So CI, CD, they work together. You must take your code and then deploy it. So delivery and deployment, it gets complicated, sort of, but I'm just going to use them as one word now. There's a subtle difference between continuous delivery and continuous deployment, but I don't want to get into that and then confuse anybody for that. So I'm just going to use them as one word, and then the subtle difference, just combine it together. So taking the artifacts that is being created from the CI parts, and then creating an environment. Before you take your artifact now and push it to I don't know, somewhere, to a server somewhere, you need to create that server. So the provisioning of your environment and then taking the artifact and putting it in there is so that environment is what continuous delivery is all about. Pushing your code, your artifacts now, deploying it and testing it. Also, again, I think I mentioned that testing is a continual thing. Even after developers have tested their code, they've written test cases. They call those unit tests, because you have different types of tests. You have unit test, integration test, plenty kind of tests. It's a continual thing. Even after you've deployed, even when it's in production, you still test is still always going on. So as part of CD, also test is part of that workflow, that step, also testing in different environments. I mean different servers you want to have it. You want to have you have your development environment. You have staging environments, and then you have production. It gets, depending on the organization, what the architecture they want to have now. Can decide they want to test in different environments before, releasing, to the end users. And testing increases quality. By the time you test, you discover something that is not working, or one that is, or something that you want, a feature that you want, and that is not there. So the output or the deliverable of CD is a working system. I was going to say perfect system, but there's no such thing as a perfect system. I learned, because if it's perfect, there's no point, going back and forth testing it again. Perfect system, they say, is the bad system. Again, building the infrastructure, provisioning infrastructure is also very, very key. Azure DevOps automates all of this for us. If you are doing DevOps manually, you can do DevOps manually, yes, where you have to be the one to provision your infrastructure, and then you write your workflow, decide to maybe use a runner, a GitHub runner, or a self-hosted runner. There are plenty things involved in continuous delivery also. Basically, the end goal is to get your system up and running. Also, monitoring and sending alerts. After you deploy to production, testing also still continues. That's where monitoring is very, very key. You have systems that monitors and sends alerts if there's maybe an error in your application. Yeah, so that's also part of continuous delivery. Those two terms are like those are the key things that Azure pipelines is all about. Pipeline is also broken down into pipelines and releases. The CI part used to be the build pipelines, but I think they've deprecated that now. It used to be the build pipeline, then you have the release pipelines. So this is the CI rather, and then release is the CD. I think when we start creating, we will be creating quite a number of pipelines, because I think it was who asked on Monday, it was Obina, yes, that's deploying a Windows-based application. Can we do it with Azure DevOps? Yes. So we'll be deploying a few applications with written in different languages, and then having different frameworks. I'm tempted to still dive into talking about pipeline concepts more, to the notion of tasks and then templates and parameters, variables. We have quite a number of things that is necessary in to understand also, but maybe when we do like a walkthrough, you will understand it more. Balumi, are you there? Are you still there?
Yes, please.
So
Yes.
okay, so Balumi is the one that will be demonstrating the pipelines for us, and I hope he would talk about YAML, and yes, YAML is
You want to put me on the spot?
No, it's Pelumi, not you.
Pelumi
Okay.
is the second
The second Agba here.
So should I start or?
Yes, let me stop sharing my screen so you can share your screen. Mr. Pelsticks, over to you.
It says something like host disabled screen sharing.
I did. You can try again.
Okay.
Who is D? D,
Can you see my?
yes, I see your screen. D, can you identify yourself? Is that Davina?
So let's go to. We're going to be making use of one. I'm using one of my repo for the trial. And just.
See why I said understanding of repository is very, very important, because you will need to connect repositories.
So this is the repo we're making use of. It's just a React application that it doesn't really have any content, but for the next demo, we'll be making use of an application that actually has content. So for us to carry out this process, we are deploying from Azure pipelines to Azure App Services. So the first thing we'll do is to create
What is Azure App Services?
So it's what we use to host web applications.
Okay.
So the first thing we're going to use is to prepare our deployments as the web application and the web apps. Right? We have to first prepare it down for our deployments. So I'm signing into my Microsoft Azure. I hope everyone understands what I'm trying to explain currently first about creating a web app on app services. Has anyone heard of app services before first?
I have heard of it.
Anyone?
no. No.
Okay,
It's not a place where you can deploy like a single page application and
yes, it's a place where you can deploy web applications for particular programming languages. So they have supported programming languages like Node, Java, I think Python too. On either, so it's either running on either Linux or Windows. So it's like a quick method just to deploy your web application, mostly for front ends.
I think they call them platform as a service.
So this is app services, yeah. Creates.
Can I quickly jump in, say something about app service?
Okay, you can.
Guys, I was talking about the release part where you take your artifacts now, and then you can have various environments. So app services, this is where you deploy your artifacts to. It is the release parts, basically. So I said part of the release is you creating your infrastructure. So this serves as like your infrastructure part where your code, your deployed code, your package code rather, will be deployed to. So Palumi is trying to first, get that, set your house in order before getting into building the code. He already talked about his repository. So we have our code already sitting in the repo. So he's now going to build and then deploy into the app service. Am I right?
Yes, you're right. So this is like your domain that you need to create first. So it's not like a bot domain, just for, how would I explain it? just like a DNS that that's going to route to your application after deploying.
That makes it publicly available to everybody over the internet.
Exactly. So we'll just call this test DevOps class. Yeah. So this is what I was talking about, the programming languages that are actually supported and the runtime. So you can see Python, these versions will be, for this one, making use of Nodes, and it's running on Node version 14. Even though it's saying Node version 14 reach end of life on 30th of
Are you
April
serious?
2023.
Ah. All over.
So you choose the operating system. So we're making use of Linux because Linux is actually cheaper than Windows. But we're going to make sure the free version, but that's
So
same.
once again, sorry, Balumi. Obina, the Windows app that you talked about last week, if we're going to deploy that now, we're going to have to deploy to a Windows operating system.
Okay.
And our runtime stack would probably be .NET or yes, .NET.
Yeah.
Okay.
So choose a region, just choosing one that is closer to where, because there's no Africa here, so choosing one that's closer to us, that's tricky. Then we choose a plan, pricing plan. So I'm making use of the, let me create a new one. I created this one before. So there are different pricing plans, but for just this quick demo, I'm going to choose the free one. So just 60 CPU minutes per day, that's just 1 hour. So you can be able to deploy to this guy.
Depending on the size of your application, yeah?
Yeah. But if you are trying to like go into development, you could start looking into this kind of basic for 13 USD per month. It's 2 gig, right? It's 2 gig.
That's the size of the infrastructure.
Yes, the size of the infrastructure that we're holding the web app. Or for like something of production, you could be looking at this premium V3 because 8 gig is decent with 2 CPUs. So for its price, it's a cost of $126 per month. It's too recent. So the other ones are just general. If you're using GitHub Actions, you could integrate it with your Azure web apps. But we're using Azure.
Is there a way to automate all of this? Instead of coming to do this manually, can we automate it as part of our?
Yeah, that's if you're using Terraform.
Okay.
Or you could do it from the deployments too.
Yes, that's we can add it to our workflow.
You can add it to your Azure pipeline.
To the pipeline. Okay.
Yeah. So
these are the kind of questions I was expecting you guys to be asking. I'm asking your questions for you.
So this is where we enable public access. So if you want the web apps to be accessible from the internet, you can just use this guy. If you don't want to, let's say,
why would we create an application and not want to make it publicly accessible?
Yeah, if it's holding, like, I don't know, if you're using it for
just your in-house, maybe like.
Yes, I want it to just be private. That other applications can connect to it. So you can network application connect to it, but you don't want this guy to be accessible over the internet, just like your APIs.
Yeah.
Your APIs here. You don't want your production APIs. You don't want other guys to access your production APIs. You want other applications to be able to access it in your VNet, but you don't want this one to be exposed outside. You could just turn off public access. But if it's something like a front-end facing application, obviously you want customers to access it. So you just enable public access and
so we can use app service to house APIs then, not just
yeah. it's even written here when you can see it here,
Let's quickly build, deploy,
and
create
API apps,
API apps. Okay, running in any platform.
not just only.
Wow.
Mm.
Okay, makes sense.
So all these ones are just going to say no. This one is just no.
Application insights. That's for monitoring.
Then you can tag it. DevOps class, reveal and create. So it should take like, has it created? No.
You have to create it first. Yeah.
So it takes like 2 minutes.
You can actually download the template for automation. I see it there. Oops.
Wow. Which area am I facing?
Demo God has caught you. This was not expected at all, yeah? So there's no way you not run into
Oh, they said I have reached the limit of
really?
one
So you just use
service
that,
plan.
use the old one like that. I was going to say that can't you use that old one since
Yes, I'm just use the old one.
well, how would you now remove? Okay.
Right. So it's in progress. While this one is in progress, let me just go to Azure DevOps to show. So this is the repo. Let's say you can have your files in any type of repository, whether it's GitHub, Bitbucket, or whatever it is. And so let me just go to the Azure.
Azure repos.
Yeah, well, Azure repos. But I'm using GitHub for what I want to integrate here. So under pipelines, this is where we are going to be working with. So want to connect our repository to Azure DevOps. I don't know if anyone gets what I'm trying to say. Your repository is external, so you want to connect it to this pipeline so that you don't need to be doing it, so that the continuous integration can be integrated, so it can be run based on whatever you are doing on your repository. I don't know if anyone is following or getting what I'm trying to say. So
yeah.
So this is where you choose the repository you're going to make use of, where's your code. So mine is in GitHub.
That's very, very intuitive. Like they're asking you, where are you pulling your code from?
So mine is in GitHub. Yours could be at Bitbucket, or you could be using Azure repos, or you could be using SVN.
Yeah.
Anyone here is in, doesn't matter. So, but Rising GitHub.
It doesn't support GitLab.
No.
Okay.
So I'm using this tests.
Okay, quick one. That part where you select your repository now. Before that, if you are going to do it for the first time, you need to authenticate. Yes, that's the word, with your GitHub account, because he has done this before. He just automatically lists all the repository that he has in here. So you'll be doing it for the first time. You'll not have it easy like this. You will first need to do some things. I think add Azure pipelines to your GitHub account as from you download it as an app from the marketplace. Okay, you can continue, Palami.
Okay, so you look for the repository that you want to work on. So I'm trying to work on this one. Normally, this guy is meant to detect that I have an Azure pipeline already in my repository, but for some certain reason, it didn't detect it. So let me just see if I just do existing. Okay. First of all, Azure pipeline is, let me just explain let me pull the code, then explain what the Azure pipeline.yaml is to my local. So that's the simple thing.
Every minute is going. Why don't you even have it pinned to your?
Yes.
You're not a developer, I mean.
Right. Okay. Is this the one? Yeah. So this is the Azure pipeline. This is what is used to run your deployments. So we are currently, this one is not a deployment Azure pipeline script. It's just a build pipeline script. So we are just building the application and creating an artifact out of it for the continuous integration. So the first thing that you see in an Azure pipeline is what are your triggers. So basically, this guy here.
This is like, is this not a configuration file or?
Yeah, this is a configuration file. You would have to add it manually to your, let's say you're working with a team of developers, right? So they would have given you their code and you'll be the one that will have to create this pipeline script, which is in YAML format for them to integrate it with your Azure DevOps, this thing as to integrate it with your Azure DevOps in order for it to have continuous integration in place. Is that fine?
Basically, as a DevOps engineer, this is, you'll be writing. I think I mentioned that you can't do without code. This is coding in a way. YAML is the configuration language that is used mostly for automation. So understanding of YAML is also very, very key. I think Azure DevOps, in a way, of most CI tool, they give you like templates to build on. You might not have to write everything from scratch, but you will still need to edit it. There are parts that, they will give you maybe the stages, some stages, and then you need to add some steps into it and some tasks. So Palumi will walk us through this particular scripts, what each of them does. This is very, very basic. It gets very, very complex sometimes. But with time, yeah, you're going to get used to it and understand the structure and all of that. All right.
So the first thing that I need to explain the pipeline, right?
Well, just the basic ones. What's that trigger does, and then maybe, yeah.
Okay, so the trigger is trying to say on what branch should I make sure that this pipeline should be run. So basically, if you put something like trigger, this one is showing to master. So once there's a push to your master branch, I'm sure Mori has explained branches and all these things to you guys already, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So once, sorry.
That's a yes. Go. You can go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So once there's a push to master branch, this pipeline here will be executed, and but let's say, because there are other options that are included in this trigger step. If you want to include, there's something they call include. You could just use include. Let me just comment it out. It's something like this. There's also, like as Moya said, there's a template where you could just follow, so it makes it easier. So it has something like this: include. Then you put the branches that you want.
So you
then
can
there are
for multiple branches.
Yeah, then you could exclude also. Like you could exclude a particular branch when you're using this include.
Mm.
So, and there's also on pull requests. Let's say you wanted to integrate your this thing, your trigger to be on pull requests. Moya has explained pull requests too, whereby the developers okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you want it to be triggered on pull request too, you could just include it here on that PR. That's pull requests, then you put master or pull request develop or whatever the branch is in YAML formats. So just the way this trigger master is, like once you understand the way YAML is and
Structure.
the pre-existing templates, it's always quite easy to follow. So this one is just talking about environment variables that are using in the scripts that we might identify. Like we have this VM image name. That's the name of the virtual machine that Azure DevOps you want Azure DevOps to use to build your application. So this is how this continuous integration thing works, right? So Azure DevOps provides like a virtual machine for you, like a temporary ephemeral virtual machine that you'll be able to like run your build this thing, your build pipeline scripts. So after it has built the artifacts of that script, it destroys that particular virtual machine. So it's not like a virtual machine that you can use to um, deploy your code to. It's just like a temporary virtual machine just for you to build your application. I don't know if anyone gets that.
Yeah.
So instead of provisioning your own infrastructure to,
Yeah, you can use your self-hosted.
okay,
But
you can also do it on self-hosted.
yeah, if you have a VM virtual machine, or you have a if for AWS now, if you have your EC2 instance,
Mm,
you could use your own as self-hosted to run your own
build,
to run the build.
yeah,
But that means you're incurring the cost
more
for it.
costs.
Yeah. So that's this side is just to like create environment variables that are going to use to within the pipeline script. So the first stage is build. This display name is showing what it to show during the execution. So this is the name of the job. It's called build and to show build stage. So the first one is trying to do is to let's go let's go to the steps. So we're going to install Node.js version 14 on the virtual machine because without installing um, Node on that virtual machine, you won't be able to like build the application because Node is what comes with the package npm that most Node applications are based upon. So you have to first install it on your virtual machine. That's
Dependency.
sorry,
It's a dependency.
I didn't get that.
I mean, Node is a dependency for, dependence for
Yeah, dependency.
the application
Okay.
needs it to run.
Yes, exactly. So the next one is these are the scripts that are running. So this npm CI is just like running npm install. So it's used to like there's something they call node modules and all those packages. So it just installs all those packages for that are necessary um for this project, I mean program to run based on what you have in your package.json. This is the package.json file just to confirm. I don't know if you've seen anything like this before.
So you'll be working with developers a lot, and so you would, with time, understand how different code base is structured, and then the things that you need, depending on the stack in which your development team will be working in. You will be joining, they call it stand-ups, and then you understand how, in fact, most times when you are writing your workflow, you would probably need, if you're not a development inclined person, you would need one of the developers to maybe walk you through on how to build the application itself. They usually actually add it to their README file once they are pushing their code, so you know what scripts you need to run to build the application. Shibi?
So this script that you put in the script section is based on the node. Is it .NET? What did you even choose before when you were configuring the app service? That's the language I need to. Huh?
React. I think.
Yeah. Yes.
React. Okay, that's what you used to write the script. Okay.
You can continue, Balloon.
Okay. So the next one is to copy files. So basically, okay, I'm not explaining what this npm run build is. Another command again that's, I don't know how to explain it, but once you run it, it creates a build folder that holds. I don't know if Moyo can delve more on what this guy does, but
That's where like the is a node scripts. It combines all of your code and puts them again, brings them together. You have several functions and several packages in your code. So the build like brings them together so that they can see themselves, and then as one, it just brings plenty functions together into one package file, kind of. Yeah. Again, all of this, you might not need to fully understand it because you're not the one writing the code. You're just trying to make it usable. But it's just what Spelling is trying to do is for you to understand this workflow and how it is structured, basically. Or what you'll be doing mostly is to understand how YAML files are structured, because you'll be doing a lot of configuration writing. And this is very, very sensitive to white spaces. YAML can get very, very annoying at times. If you miss a step or you miss one, maybe you add a space where space is not supposed to be. Yeah, it will not go. I think you have online tools that can help you at least understand the structure. But then your IDE is also very, very good to see that you see the lines for the steps, for the scripts, they are nested properly underneath each other, each task and the scripts that you're running. So understanding how they are nested is very, very key. That's, in fact, it's more key than even all the scripts that you're running in between. I said I was going to talk about the different concepts of the pipelines. That's the task. Task is like the building block that defines, the pipeline automation. They're just package scripts or procedures, basically. They are mostly abstracted. It's not something that you should bother yourself about. You just know that for each framework, whatever it is that developers are working with, you have a set of automated or abstracted inputs task now that jobs execute. We have the notion of jobs also at the top of there. Jobs is like the roots of your pipelines. Then underneath that you have task and then templates and some other things.
Right. So let's continue. So this, in GitHub Action, okay. I don't know if anyone is familiar with GitHub Actions.
I think you might want to just basically talk that you are using. Okay, continue. Let's see.
So basically, there are some packages.
Yeah, helper functions, kind of.
Yes, helper functions that you can use for within your scripts. So it's not everything that you need to write. You don't need to reinvent the wheel.
Yes.
So there are some helper scripts already that you could use for some certain functions. Like this one now, I'm trying to copy the file that is in my build. When you run npm run build, it creates a build folder. So I'm using this copy file helper function to copy it from my present working directory / build to where I want it to be. That I will now zip it and publish. So that's what the next one is doing, archiving that file. Now I copied it from this build part to / output site. So from here, I will now archive everything. I'll archive what is now currently sitting at this place into a zip folder as an artifact. Then I'll publish it to artifacts on Azure DevOps.
Okay.
Does anyone understand what I just explained that's happening in these 3 steps here?
Yeah, I mean, so from the beginning, if you want to scroll up a little bit, so basically you name the whole thing, then you create a build site, then the steps you'd create. Let me see the steps you run. Is it configuring a task there with the tool? I don't know what it is. But the next step is creating a script, depending on the language that you're using. In this case, is the React for packaging the codes as a build. That's merging them as a build. Using that npm run build.
Yeah.
Then after that, after you have created that build, that package, the next step, you copy that file, copy that build file, which is the copy files, app2 or whatever you put there. Copy it, and you said transferring it from your current working directory, which is the system default working directory, and the folder, which is the build folder. Then after doing that, you are outputting it. Outputting. Oh, sorry, you are archiving first and foremost, like zipping it and archiving it. And with that build folder, then the next stage is after you create an artifact with that archived build file. Artifact. Then with that artifact, you can now find a way to deploy it somehow.
Publish it.
Publish it. Sorry, publish it.
Publish it.
I guess, yeah, in a way.
Most of these steps, they are very intuitive, and with time, you understand what each other, because most times these are the basic things that you will do. The ones that will change mostly is how you package you bundle it now. The last 3 tasks there are usually repeated for most of your workflow.
So when you say the last 3 tasks, is that the archive, the
copy,
the zipping,
archive, and publish?
Okay, the copying, archiving, and publishing. Okay. So the part that needs to be modified is probably from the scripting, the naming, and all those other things.
Yes. Am I right, Pelumi?
Well, depends on the application again.
The application, yeah. Okay.
Steps does not provide build. Okay, provides build. Does not application provide build, but like there are some applications that you don't even need to do npm run build.
Yes, PHP. Just carry your code and dump it there.
Yes, so that could change.
Okay.
In that kind of scenario.
Okay, that's true. And then this is using a zip file. You can, I think we have other.
I think
could have. I think Java uses WA dot .wa.
Yeah.
Yes, and then I think Windows application .exe. You have a few of those deliverables like that. Independent.
Even when you are using your regular Linux this thing for nodes, you could also, instead of zip, should tar.
Yes, there's star. Yes, star. So there are different ways you can, actually package your application depending again on what it is being built on.
And also, as you even said, if it was a Java application, this script here, okay, you said
it's different.
the difference.
Very
So that's the stack that you're working on that you'll be able to implement
what you put in your script part there.
script. So that's just like a high overview of what's happening.
It can get very, very complex. So this is like basic. It's very, very complex.
Okay.
Don't worry, you get used to it. You will have to play, say, okay, then we go learn this one. It gets interesting also. The more complex it is, the more interesting it gets. Yeah, especially when it breaks, and then you have to troubleshoot and look at where did I miss this, and then
that's why your head will explode.
No, it's interesting though. I'm telling you guys. Yeah. All right, Mr. Pelstix, what's the next step?
Okay, so let's go back to where we were before we came here. Yeah. So normally, as I said before, this guy it usually detects your Azure pipelines, but I don't know why it didn't detect it like right now. So you won't have to, like, once you have a Azure pipeline script in your projects file, what is called in your project file on your repository.
Can we try something?
Yeah.
I know we already have this set up for the master branch. Can we create a new branch and then see if we can use that in our pipelines, or is that going to disrupt anything?
No, that's not going to disrupt anything. That's just what it's.
Why do you like doing things from GitHub? Can't do it from your.
Okay, you want me to do it from what you?
Yes.
From Azure?
No, not from Azure, from the terminal.
From terminal, okay.
Maybe from the terminal.
You check out B feature. What is B?
It's branch.
Okay.
So you check out is when you want to switch branches.
Yep, but the one you taught us doesn't.
I did git branch then with a capital M, if you remember.
Yeah, you didn't teach us the one.
There are several ways you can actually do a particular thing in IT generally. If you are going to copy, use Ctrl+C, or you right click and copy. It's also like that.
Yep.
Most of
Yep.
it.
Feature the master.
You've not edited the trigger of Malumi.
Okay, you want me to change it?
Oh, okay, no, okay.
Yeah, now so that we can test what I call it, feature.
I think I've even missed what's.
Wait, oh yeah, I'm on that branch.
So this is where your Git skill will be tested, because you would.
But wait, I should have to. If you want it to trigger.
What I was thinking of is, I was thinking we'll create a branch without the Azure pipeline YAML file, so that we do that all from the beginning. But I don't think that will work. So maybe just continue what you have planned.
It will work. It will work. Like I can finish this guy, then we'll still do what he wants to do. It will work.
Okay. But you understand what I was going for?
So I don't it's this yet. So
Yeah, okay.
I won't push this yet. Like I'll just complete what is there. Then
Yes. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Makes sense. Just come back.
so it's showing our Azure pipeline.
So you can actually edit it from inside here too
Mhm.
before running it.
Okay.
So I didn't run the pipeline though.
Just
I
say,
don't think I didn't run the pipeline. So now you want me to this it.
okay, no run it yet. Why didn't you run it?
Yeah, because you want me to like test it from feature DevOps class. Isn't that what you want?
That means you have two pipelines there.
Oh, I would have to create another pipeline again.
So don't worry, don't let us get out of. Let's complicate it. Yeah. We'll complicate
Sure.
it later. Let them understand what's going on first. So
Okay.
that
So let me
learner
run.
don't come and say, and they should not come and disrupt my weekend though.
Okay.
Version control is still there.
So this one is running manually. I'll shoot. Oh shit. I want to make one change.
Okay, parallelism, yeah, parallel jobs. And also, when you guys are setting this up for the first time on your end, you would need to create an Azure subscription to be able to parallel jobs. Is a paid feature. The free Azure DevOps account will not give you the
No,
option.
there's free one, but
Is
it's this thing you have to request for it.
okay.
I don't grant it, but they might grant it.
So why do you want to subject yourself to that kind of headache? And then you have to wait for how many days? 3 to 5 days.
3 working days now.
Well, wait. You say we have to create another Azure DevOps account?
Yes, yeah, a subscription. So Palumi, can you go to billing? I think we touched on this when we were doing that. If
you talked about it.
if you've not created a subscription in that part where you have Azure subscription ID, you would have a add billing or so. That's what will enable these paid parallel jobs that you have there. If you don't have a subscription, you'll not be able to run parallel jobs because in your workflow now you have more than one job running. So for you to be able to have, run that effectively, you need subscription. You need, it's not free. But like Palumi said, if you want the free one, you have to request for it, and then you wait for 3 to 5 days, and it's still subject to Microsoft's goodness. They can decide, okay, yes, we like your face, we like the name of your account, so okay, you can use free power.
So basically, at the subscription level, there you change billing or
yes,
configure user billing.
yes, where you is I don't think they charge you immediately, but yeah, just
How much do they charge?
they say $40 per month.
So how much?
Depending on the number of parallel jobs in which you're running, though. Most of these services are pay as you go. If you're running 1 or 2 parallel jobs, I don't think you would pay that much. It's pay as you go. They won't charge you so much. It's when you
These people can never be poor, never. They can never be poor. They can't be poor. I don't see.
Counting the dollars.
I don't see where they are. I don't see where that poor will come in their life. They can't be poor.
The technology behind it is not something that was thought of in one day now. So obviously,
Oh my
Young
God.
people, people actually need this thing. So it's making life much easy. The
Let
manual.
me give you an idea of how much money they make.
You don't want to go into that. Don't come and oppress us this morning, I beg.
No, let me give you a slight idea now. Let me just give everybody a slight idea.
Okay.
Microsoft Outlook, everybody's organization uses Microsoft 365. Right?
Right.
So every user of Microsoft 365 has a license, which is purchased for about $9 per head.
Wow.
And in an organization that has maybe 40,000 users that are registered in, that's just one organization. No?
Only one organization, that one only.
Yes, it's not free. You must purchase per head for everybody that wants to have an E5 license.
And that's just Office 365.
That's just Office. We're not even talking about other applications. Do the math.
And then doing it for different worldwide, or not just a particular region. Organizations all over the world using it and paying them for this. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
This team.
All right, so we need the subscription to be able to run the pipelines, basically, to run parallel jobs.
So, and this is also what we was talking about, the self-hosted, if you're using your own.
Yes, if you want to build with your own Azure.
Rising Microsoft, the one that is coming with the Azure DevOps for our build.
So they'll give you some free features, and then you still have to pay for some. It's a bit, clickbait.
Let's go back and try and rerun the pipeline again.
Did you save that settings?
Yeah, I did. Today. Let me rerun it. It should work for rerun.
So you get these failed pipelines regularly, and then the option to rerun it will give you an error message for you to know exactly where the error came from. I'm still having that.
It's changed it. It's changed it. Why is it not working?
And so you have this very beautiful thing that would go, all those steps. I mean, those. You can see the npm install, build, and it goes from line to line. The initial job, checkout repository, install node. All of these they are coming from that script. If you notice, we have the scripts. But then can you go to your IDE? Maybe open it by the side.
Like this?
Yes. So you can see those stages. You can see the stage build site. I think you named that. What's the display name for the build?
npm install comma build. That's the display name.
And that's it. That's after the install node. We have install node display name for install node JS, and then is what you name there that will display in the build or the jobs rather now.
Showing. What's the display name that will actually be
showing in there. And if you want to now drill down into it to see what is happening, you can click into it and then to tell you all the plenty abstracted things that's going down in there.
Right. So for us to just show that this stuff works based on our trigger, let's come back to our pipeline and trigger the deployments from here. Rather, what we just did now was manual.
Yeah.
So now I want to do it. What's the word?
Automate it.
I want to make automated.
So maybe when the developer makes a new push now, or you work on your pipeline, once you push to that particular branch. But do you have to do it manually before you can now do?
You have to do, like, you mean this thing?
From the Azure DevOps.
The first time, like when you're creating, you don't run it manually. You know, I didn't run it manually the first time, so I could have done it from here, but I just ran it. You could just save your connection and that's all.
Okay.
So let me just make one change in the code. I'm not changing anything. I'm just going to like add a comment or something. I'm not a developer.
you that
Are you sure
you
comment?
wrote the PHP plugin. How do they comment in JS? I think it's
Ash is now coming for me. Is he not this guy?
back. Is
Yes.
backslash then you can use double slash for a single line. And yeah, developer Jare, you wrote a PHP plugin. I know of that one. I know a JavaScript developer. Now you're learning .NET, isn't it?
So this status. I make any change in Azure pipeline?
Yes, you changed that trigger from.
Yeah, but I changed it back to master. Where is it? Sure. I think everything looks fine.
You break, you come and fix it here.
Moyo.
Yes.
To be frank with you, I'm totally lost.
So
I don't even know exactly what you guys are doing there. You know, some of us have a zero idea on this. So
yeah, this is like
I'm not getting anything.
This is like a general walkthrough. We're still going to drill. Like I said, the pipelines is like the heart of Azure DevOps. So we'll focus plenty time on this, on making sure that you understand what is going on. Yes, this is actually very expected. I'm even surprised that okay, I'm not surprised that Lionel is grabbing to this, is grabbing it. But the first time
grabbing it like that too.
It is not grabbing it like that.
By force, by fire.
We're just squeezing it in our head. Later, when we sleep and wake up, we'll revise it.
It will make more sense when we touch on it again. I just want you to first understand what is, the general thing behind it.
But like, can I ask which parts is not clear?
Ezekiel.
From beginning to the end.
That's it.
Is oh wow! I don't know. Yeah, we'll still come back to it. Don't worry, Ezekiel.
Moyo,
Like,
I might be in Nigeria this June. I'm coming to your house.
I'm
coming to Nigeria, June. I'm coming to your house to stay with you for 1 week.
Lionel is very, very close to you now. You can go and meet him. He's ready to teach you.
Lionel is coming. We both are coming to Nigeria to stay with you. All this one that you got put in here. My head is hurting me.
Wonderful.
Come on, latent over your house.
No wala, space there for now. Alpha, Obina, are you with us?
Obina is sleeping. He knows all these things already.
I'm not sleeping.
Obina just chill there. He dey watch movies. Say all this one on my mind.
No,
Watching Chelsea versus Real Madrid recap. Yeah,
I'm with
he
you
knows all
guys.
these things.
Yeah, you're understanding all of this, yeah?
I'm understanding the step, but I will,
Mm,
you know, this is my
your field.
weakness.
Your
This
bread and
part.
tea.
Okay.
So I have to concentrate a lot to understand
Okay.
better.
That makes sense.
But I understand everything the steps is taken. I understand.
It's intuitive because you have Azure experience sort of. So makes sense. But somebody that is just seeing most of those toolbox for the first time, it will look confusing, and bringing everything together, having to go to GitHub to pull your code, and then go to pipelines, go to app service. I'm sure all of those things, yeah, maybe. Is Jean still in this class? Jean, are you still with us? I think Jean has been kicked out. Jean joined us today.
Yeah, she's gone.
Yeah, no worries, Ezekiel. We'll still go, step by step, just like we did version control. If maybe after we're watching the video and then there's still something missing.
Okay.
We'll just do dive into a quick dive also.
Okay.
So do I proceed or?
Yes. Proceed. We'll go from the beginning again.
Right. So what I just did earlier, because normally, this stuff is for the developers to continue for continuous integration. So I just came here and edited like one of the code bits, because that's what will happen in a real life situation. The code will be edited and will be pushed to the branch that's. So once you push that code to that branch, this pipeline script will now be executed. So that's what I want to do now. I want to push to the branch. Normally, you don't push to master branch. It's just because this is a demo. That's why I'm just doing this push to master branch. Master branch is always protected.
Yeah, anyone that hears this now, they'll think you actually are there today, so that you like to push directly to.
It's always protected, please.
Yeah.
So I already pushed to the master branch, and you can see it has triggered our script. I'm sorry, our pipeline. Can you see just now?
This is the heart of CI.
So it's building.
So all of those jobs would run again. Okay, I think you added 2 parallel jobs, I mean.
I could not add, if you add one, it's still not work. So they said that it's the free one or something like that. Yeah.
So that's your money, your bill is going up. Why is this taking long?
Why is it taking? Oh, I think I know why. As I trigger this job, another one is running. That first one I created earlier. Like this is a different project.
Okay.
Let me see if I can stop it.
So this has kicked off.
So this should have started.
Well, because of that.
Yeah, it's because my money did not reach to be running like.
What just happened now? Working with a proper organization, you would probably not experience this, but because this is it's not a free account, we're still going to pay for this, but there are levels to the number of parallel jobs that you can have running.
So this is the artifact to produce from what we just built.
Okay. But the one from the previous build that you did triggered manually, do we have that?
Yeah, we also have artifacts for that one.
That also.
So I'm just showing like in this finalized.
You don't see it there that one artifact produced.
Yeah, it takes you to this thing. So you can see that this is the artifact. So
this artifact is going to be different from the last artifact. The one we changed.
So the way you identify the artifacts you are going to use for your deployment is based on the build ID.
Okay.
So we'll get into that now. So this build ID is 2023. It uses dates. So today's and then the run. Okay. So it has run. I think this is our third execution, third recent run. So that's why it's 23. So the next part is the deployment part.
Guys, I know this is a lot to take in, but I promise you you would understand by the time we do this once or twice.
So technically, normally you could include the deployment part also into this Azure pipeline as a deploy step or deploy task in this Azure pipeline, but I want to just do it manually
first
because I felt first, but I felt like it would be easier to understand than even including it in the pipeline.
The CI part alone is confusing enough.
So I think this deployment part, I hope will be more on what's the English language, more understandable than understandable than what I just did earlier for the continuous integration. So first part, create a release. So you come to your release section on your pipeline, right? Then new release pipeline. Did anyone see the place where I clicked on new release pipeline just to confirm?
Yes.
So I don't need to go back, right?
Well, I saw it. I don't know if any other person missed it.
I don't know, but I went quick. That's why. Let me just do it again. So in this part, you can see new. You're going to create a new release pipeline. So new. First thing first, you have to, that artifact that we got in the build section, you have to add it here because that's what we are deploying to our whatever virtual machine we're using, or we're using services, or we're using Kubernetes. That's what we're going to like.
Environment is the right word you want to use there.
Sorry?
Whatever environment you want to deploy to.
Yes. Thank you. So the artifact is coming from the build. What is the name of the build pipeline? This guy.
So you can select artifacts from Azure repos or GitHub too.
Yeah, if you built it in, like, let's say GitHub Actions and your artifact, you could just
interesting.
Yeah. So latest. So want the latest version from our last successful build. You just change the version to latest. Then this guy add. So let me just go over it again. The first step you need to do is to add an artifact. So you can either add from the build, which is that previous continuous integration we just worked on. As Mario said, it could be in your repository, whether you built it on GitHub using GitHub Actions, and you already have your artifact stored on GitHub Actions. So the next thing is for you to specify the name. There are other types too. You could have it on Azure Container Registry, Docker Hub, Jenkins. Yeah.
That's a lot. Interesting.
So the first thing you need to do is to specify the name of your project. For me, the name of my project is Team DevOps. Then the source, where is this? We are making use of the build artifacts now, the one coming from the build. So the source, what is the name of the pipeline that was used to create the artifacts? For me, it was spellsticks.team DevOps React 1.
That was what we named it when we were creating the pipelines earlier.
Now, do you want to specify a time of release creation? Do you want the latest on the build pipeline default branch with tags? Latest for specific branch with tags, specific version. If you want a specific version, like as I said, they have this is the first run, this is the second run, this is the third run. If you want to deploy version 2,
Specific version, yeah.
deploy version 3, which is the latest, you just change this default version here to specific version. So, but once you deploy the latest version, so I'll just leave it as latest. So add.
You can just click on hide to hide this your thing that you're moving up and down.
Now, the next stage, this is the one that Moya was saying. So you could create like
New environments.
Wait, how many stages is this?
4 stages already. So
You're trying to do the app service deployment. That's it right there.
Yeah, are you saying anything? But we can't hear you.
Oh, I've not said anything since you're not hearing me.
Because you were just clicking and clicking. I was wondering, like, what is this man doing?
Okay. So first thing, you can call the environment you're working on. So I just call this one dev. So you select
I
your.
noticed that even can you create your web your app service from this part, or you need to first you must have created it. I know we created it from the beginning.
You can create it from here.
Okay.
Let me see it. Okay.
We just hit the plus and you run Azure app, then web app. Okay.
So this one,
You can actually do it here too.
this one here is the. Where's this thing like this? This one, oh my god.
Okay, there are 2 different agents. One agent. This one is deployer.
This one here is creating the service. This first one here on top. Then this one is actually deploying what we've created to the service. So we don't actually need this guy because we've already created our Azure Web Services. So it's actually Azure Web App Deploy task that we just need for our release pipeline. So let me just like go by it again.
Yes, please.
Yes. So we have our artifacts. We've created the stage. That's the dev stage, right? So, sorry?
So we can
I'm continue.
We can have different stages. That's different environments now. We have dev, staging, or production. Am I correct?
Yes. I'm trying to even add, I don't know why it's adding sequentially.
You can have dev, QA, stage, different types there.
Let's just deploy to dev first.
Okay. So by using Azure Web App Deploy to deploy to for our to deploy our artifacts that we've created in our build pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
So you specify your subscription, app type on Linux. You can have the one for Windows for Ryzen Linux.
Okay.
App name.
So now detect what we created.
So the name is, I think we call it test DevOps class. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So where is our zipped folder? You could just click on this browse section here. So this is where our zipped folder is. That's our build.
Okay. The one you
zip.
zipped.
Yes. Runtime stack. We're making use of Node version 14.
I thought we specified this in our when we were creating that.
Yeah, I think you just have to, it's not what's the word? Asterisk. What's that thing when they say something is not asterisk? It's not required.
Okay.
I'm just putting it here. It's not like something that is required. Then startup command. If there's a startup command for the application, I think this one is yarn start.
So this is where you need your developers close by. So again, if it's in the README file, you can easily get that if your project is properly
so save.
Saving it in the root folder.
Then create your release. I just came back to the release main page, or you could have created your release directly from that guy. But I just came back to the release page to like create it from this place. So create your release. Now, for something like production, you have to change this trigger to manual because you don't want like automated, like when someone pushes something direct, you don't want it as a DevOps engineer, you still want to like make sure everything is fine before pushing to something like prod. But for like dev and staging, you could allow it to be automated deployments. So but for production, you would have to change this trigger change to actually to manual. So it's saying stages for a trigger change from automated to manual. So I said for the dev, I want the trigger to be manual. I want to like verify everything is fine before you push my code to dev. But most of the time, dev and staging are always actually automated, but prod is always the one that you have to actually make it to be manual because everything has to be fine before you push the manual. I'm sorry, before you push to prod. I don't know if there's any questions regarding that part.
I think you can just go on. Even me, I'm a bit confused, but
you understand what I'm saying? Like, normally,
you're confused.
normally, in most companies, we have three stages. That's just dev. Like the basics is dev, staging, and production. There's usually code changes to discrete branches, discrete environments now. If you are now, if there's a change to production, you don't want it to be automated that whatever you are deploying, you are going to just deploy straight to production. It has to be, you have to, as a DevOps engineer, you have to actually verify that everything is fine. So you have to actually,
you guys have tested properly on stage before you now.
Even in my company, production is done manually.
Yes. Mostly, yes. Should be done. That final test. So in fact, some companies go as far as maybe just the CEO now can actually give that final go ahead to promote to prod. If he doesn't give that sign or confirm from his end, if you're going to promote to prod, probably you create like a notification to a higher authority. Even as the DevOps guy, you still need somebody higher to, okay, yes, fine. You will confirm from QA, have you done the test properly and all of those. And when they give, okay, yes, we've done that, then now triggers it. Plenty overhead. All right, we can create this now.
Okay. So the release is created. So since I put it to manual, yeah, there's something I didn't explain in this. Let me explain it. For what Moyo was saying, we could add.
This man wants to complicate this thing.
No, we could add the what is call it, the branches that we actually want. What is we could add the branches that could be included also in this.
Okay, and the
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Yes. So for the dev, you pull from dev develop branch. For
yes,
staging,
exactly.
you pull from staging branch, and then you can tag them also.
Yeah. So like this, because we're just doing like demo, these steps are not really going to look like
stages.
it's not look what it's meant. It's not going to look as what it's meant to be. But like in real life situation, dev you would have just said include from a particular branch, not master. But for production, it would have been include master.
Yeah. Now we have the production branch.
Then what Moya was talking about, where the CEO is where you come into redeployment approval. So you can choose the some certain people that can approve these deployments to occur. So if these guys don't approve it, the deployment will not go, like it's not going to run. So it's just going to be on the queue until when these approvals are being passed, or should I say, yeah. Except if you're an admin, that's when you can override approvals on Azure DevOps. Nobody can override an approval on a particular pipeline. What's this thing? Oh yeah, except if you are an admin. So you can put the timeout period. Normally we use 60 seconds where I work. I'm sorry, 16 minutes. So if the approval does not actually come and approve the deployment, after 16 minutes, it cancels. So that's what I just wanted to show, some extra features under
Yeah, it's a very powerful tool.
Under the release. Leave. So now I'm just going to, like, since I set it to manual deployments, I'm going to manually deploy to dev. So I'll just click here.
Has not yet started. Deploy. Plenty clicking.
Yeah, that's because it's manual. If it was automated, I don't need to come and deploy. That I should have used the automated one, right? I'm just trying to explain based
yes,
on
you see all the steps involved. It's always good to start manual and then go.
So the guy is picking up my artifacts
Okay.
and trying to deploy to Azure Web Apps now.
So this is the beauty of most of these tools. You get first-hand information on what is work is.
There's a lot on the Azure release pipeline.
Yeah. Usually, once you do this, you don't sit and start watching it. You go and do other things. But when you do it a couple of times, yeah, you just know that once you're done, you probably have notifications set up.
Yeah, you get notifications on your email.
So it has downloaded the artifacts. So these are the steps you can add to your workflow to automate all of this. So for your final project, you probably need to, you will run a CI/CD from beginning to the end.
And probably next class we could do the deployment also included in the Azure pipeline. But since this one I was just trying to explain it from
That was quick. How many
we could touch releases manually too.
So 1 minute and 29 seconds. We're done.
Yeah, so we go back to
Azure.
Our Azure app services. Sorry, I'm coming.
Delete it. Couple charge. You don't want to pay. It's yes, you're supposed to type.
So let's go here. So this is the, when we first started that I was talking about the DNS that you use to route to your application to be able to view it publicly. This is it. This is what you're going to use to view your deployments to know whether it was successful or not. So it's showing. So let's just go to the URL. Yeah.
What error can
troubleshooting start?
Well, that was unexpected, but
why do things never go according to plan? Yeah, doing this. But the app service is running.
yeah, it's running. The app service is showing status running, but the application. Yeah.
Logs.
Okay, let me just scroll down to where is it?
Properties, monitoring, logs at the monitoring.
And the one I directed was running. Apparently. I could just have used it to show how it works. Or is it that my 60 minutes has expired?
Did you set that up?
That stuff is free version. I use 60 minutes. Oh, what? Yeah. But it's still showing running, so I doubt that's the issue. Let me just sit here.
Like you don't be say somebody.
Couldn't find
package or JSON file. Oh, why? It's we package with Node.js. I mean package.js. So this is part of DevOps. You will be reading logs a lot, a lot, because things will break, things will not work according to plan, and then you have to investigate where the error came from, so you can actually put it.
It's a lot.
Okay. Are you sure it's yarn start we're supposed to use as our that starts?
Okay, to start the application. It's just a random application. It's not like my own.
Yeah.
Perhaps when you bring more of Flix, I mean, what's that application? You could run it.
I'm saying this will open it in port 3000, but I'm saying port 8080, that's logs.
Oh, yeah, I saw it is.
So maybe you should this can see expose 8080 in your application in your Docker container.
There's no even Docker container currently running in that script. There's a way Azure Web App Services work. So
yes, there's no Docker container here. Yes. So I think it's probably in our release. Can we do a release again?
yeah, well, I want to confirm that I don't know what this
can you take it off and not use it?
package. Uncheck package.json just to confirm something. Yes, what beyond saying React scripts. Okay, sorry. Okay.
The yarn starts there. Yarn build test. Or maybe use npm. Use npm start. Use npm start. Are you guys still with us? Or we have lost all of you?
Let me just remove starting the application.
Okay.
So we won't start it.
If you don't start it, okay. Don't make it manual, please. Make it automatic and just create.
Okay.
You don't want to do all of this. Windows care. Is it Windows you choose?
It's not Windows. Said waiting in Windows something. Not Windows.
My bad. Is anybody there? Are you guys enjoying this?
So it's done.
We did here.
It's done.
Let's go back and get our.
You're watching the movie.
A serious movie.
But wait, let's just give it some couple of minutes because this application is maybe mad. I tested it before earlier and it was working fine.
Tell you, the demo god is on your side. Demo god is.
That one I did was actually working fine.
I checked it soon. What did you use? Did you start with yarn or npm?
Yarn. The same way I'm just demoing it. What I did. Now my Azure is not popping up. What's up?
Just build, so yeah, I'll be even careful.
But you should have deployed already now.
Should have, but you didn't start it now, so I don't know. I didn't deploy. This thing can't find package. It will not build properly.
What is the time? 2:44.
Charge your phone, charge your laptop, young man.
Oh shit, I forgot that. But this one I would have to look into it.
Okay. So our deployment is running mad. Let me use Palumi's words. So from these logs is saying he can't find the package or JSON. So this is probably a build issue. It's not packaging the right thing. But I'm still seeing yarn stats in this log.
I just deploy it now. So it succeeded.
But you didn't add that startup?
No, I didn't add it.
Oh, so why is it still saying?
So I removed it now.
I'm suspecting that is the artifacts. Can you use the artifacts for the previous?
Oh, from that previous one.
Yes.
First, I also like it's like 2 minutes probably to refresh.
I think it needs plenty of time. So this is an application of if there's nothing there, the error will be different.
Or let me restart the app services.
Is the artifact that is not rendered properly.
Because that one is like starting from build again. I don't know if you want us to go through that route again.
Build again. No,
Oh, I'll just pick that artifact if I get.
Your release, you're going to pick that. Just go to pipeline and the artifacts.
Release. So you're saying
Yes.
version 2? Or okay, you're talking about the one I did earlier, but can change this guy.
This is the right. When you use the right, that the right agent.
I don't know, something's wrong with my.
Is it the right agent you're using? Is it deploy at Azure App Service?
Eh?
Is that the right agent you're supposed to use? Let's deploy
Yes.
Azure App Service. Some settings.
Yeah.
Required.
Like Azure DevOps is doing some now.
Wait,
Yes.
maybe go back to those your releases and then delete the ones that is running now before you do this one. Oh, interesting. Is this one that is even misbehaving? It's one that is not even loaded. Is it network?
It's not network, bro. It's the DevOps. My client is fast. I don't. Wait, what?
It's 29K. Wow.
No, this is not my internet.
In this odd hour, 29 KB.
This is not my internet. I don't know. This is not telling me the truth.
Oh, that's serious.
Wow, I think it's my internet actually that is messing up right now.
But we are still. You can hear me clearly. I can see everything you are doing clearly. So
Try and check this link. So yeah, I can hear you. I'm wondering what's going on. Check the name, send the link to you.
this is an
To the,
application error. It's not. This one is not connected.
yeah, probably you could access it. Maybe my, internet sometimes say.
Send it to the chat. To the chat. Go down. Chat.
So try and see if you can access it.
So copy to playboard now.
It's 9 kilobytes per second. What?
That is as bizarre. Are you in Cameroon?
It's not actually loading again. No.
Not loading anything. I'm still surprised that this thing is working. It's the same thing here. This one is.
My task, but like the whole process is what's needed to be done. I just have to like do this for the next class.
So, guys, this is DevOps for you. Nothing ever works as planned. This was not expected, but I didn't expect it to go smoothly. But I don't know what happened. Our presenters' internet has decided not to even wanting to go further again. So you can't even edit anything as it is.
Wait, it's back. My internet is back.
Add the artifact first. Close this one. This thing must work. Nobody's going anywhere until this works. Obin, I know we have work in the morning, but this will work. We have 8 minutes. We can do this.
Yeah.
App service deployment, that's the first one there now. Still not bringing out the subscription. Connection type. Okay. On Windows, okay. Linux.
It's not necessary.
There's no option for no startup.
Like if you want what?
I hope you automated this.
Yeah, it's automated. Let me change the name.
So wait. The startup command is now available. Well, you chose my not trigger.
Or is it because I've already deployed something on that guy on that app services? So that one has already broken the web apps already.
No, that's the essence of having to. Whereas if you can do it continuously now, if it breaks like easily like that, then it's useless. Just sign in again.
I wanted to just view something. That's finished. Something wrong. I don't know why it's. Let me open another.
Let me check it from here. Still the same thing.
Still the same thing. It's still the same thing. Let me. Still the same thing, but I think it's the app service. Like that first deployment already messed it up.
Well, I know plenty questions and confusion with all this debugging. It's the beauty of live class. We cannot edit this. So we will stop here for today. Olumi, you want to try this one last time, or we end this class now?
Yeah, I just want to create a what is it?
Fresh app service. Guys,
Yes.
can you give us a few minutes to try this one more time? Hello, has everybody slept off? Left us. Everybody, you have left it.
Yeah.
Maybe delete all the release pipelines you have, and then can you delete them? Yes. You want to right click in Azure DevOps? Are you kidding? Sure. Create a new one. Create a new one, please. You don't have that. How do you start command?
I want to even save, just run without this, start command first. Okay, this one should work fine. It's deploying again. Let me see how to delete this guys.
Go to edit, then options. Oh, that's it. That's it. Yes. Oh, we don't want you. I'm going to delete the one that is here.
Has not completed yet. Still deploying.
It should take like a minute. 20 minutes.
Still deploying.
50 seconds. 50 seconds. It's like a minute.
Okay, so it has deployed.
Oh wow, that was even faster than I thought.
So
Calm down. This looks like it's going to work. Voila, that is our app running. So app services break. What happened in the first time that I even broke it?
I don't know.
So this is like a bootstrap node application. There's really nothing going on in here, but this work. I know all of that troubleshooting can be very, very confusing. But again, this is bound to happen. It's bound to happen.
I think next class probably will use like a real application.
Yes, so, yeah, this is a real application. It's just empty.
I mean like a
Upper,
real life
okay.
real life application.
With navigation bars and something.
Yes.
Yeah, makes sense. And then we'll do a proper walkthrough, not all this. This is like
Where else did you want to pick that one? Maybe
why you are boring. I mean, I know there are plenty of questions, and I don't know if we have the time to take all of those now, but maybe you guys can watch the video again, and then if any confusion that this has brought up, we can tackle it in the next class. Please, we watch this video and then, I don't know, come with questions in the next class.
Definitely.
Okay.
right. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, guys.